Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. When I started using Anchor to do my podcast, it was so extremely easy that I haven't even bothered to look for another app to use. I love this app. It's the only one I deal with, the only one I even recommend, period. I recommend you get on there ASAP. If you want to start a podcast, this is definitely the place to go. It's easy. You can drive around and record. You can sit in your basement and record. You can do it anywhere. It's fantastic. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start, anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Adam Rich from the Really Rich Podcast. And today I just wanted to ask you more. This is something I just want you to really think about within yourself. But why do you do what you do? Or why do you think the way that you think? Like, what is your biggest influences? What made you get to the point that you're at today with your views, your thoughts, your career, your relationships, the way you talk to people, the way you interact with them, the way just the way you basically live your life. Like, why is it that you do what you do? And have you ever really thought about this? Is it just being in the atmosphere that you've been in for so long, the environment that you've been in with your family, with your upbringing, the city you live in, the high school you went to, the people you work with? Like, why is it that we do the things that we do day after day? And I really want people to think about this, because I think so many people are not living their life the way that they want to because of other people, whether it be your family, your parenting, maybe your parent, maybe you're scared to make a change in your life or make a move doing something different because your mom or your dad would frown upon it. And think about also, even your political views. Where do you line up and why? Why do you feel the way that you do? Why don't you agree with, the opposite view of what you have? And I don't just mean politics, I mean in general. Any view that you have and anything that you feel strongly about in your life, I want you to really think about it. Why is it that you feel that way? And why do you not feel the other way? Because sometimes it doesn't necessarily just go hand in hand. Sometimes it's not as simple as saying, well, I believe this, so if I believe this, I can't believe that. It's not always that simple. Sometimes taking yourself out of the equation and just looking at, the specific topic and trying to analyze it from all perspectives, not just your own, but all perspectives, is very helpful and very beneficial in your growth as a human being. And listen, this isn't really, I didn't want to make this episode just to make it like some 30 minute to 1 hour episode to really discuss and dive deep into a topic. This is more, I really just wanted to ask the question. I wanted to ask the audience to really dig within yourself and ask yourself, why do you feel the way that you do? Where do you get your ideas, your mentality, your perspective? Listen, there is no right or wrong answer. This isn't some kind of thing where people should judge themselves or just ask yourself, where do you think that it comes from? Where do you get your ideas? I know that the majority of my ideas and thoughts and feelings and actions and things like that came from my parents, not just through hereditary reasons, but seeing the role models that they were, seeing the things that they did day in and day out and how it affected other people, it really rubbed off on me the way that they acted. Like, it's one thing because, and here's the thing, it's easy to say like, oh, well, it's all hereditary. It's easy to say that, but that might describe why I guess where you get your characteristics or where you get your traits and things like that. But that's not necessarily your ideas. Because, listen, my mom and dad are are very different when it comes to certain ideas. And it's easy to say that it's hereditary through one of them, but I've changed the way I think throughout my life. And you can't say that it's because of, your heritage. You can't say that, if I was very, very similar to my mom when I was younger, and I'm much more similar to my dad now, you can't say that that's a hereditary thing, obviously. Obviously, something changes over time. And listen, they're not like totally different as far as like their views or the character that they are, like the way that they treat people and their values, I guess. They're not very different there. It's just the way that my outlook and my perspective has changed dramatically from the time that I spent the majority of like when I was younger, I spent a lot of time with my mom. When I've gotten older, I spent a little bit more time with my dad because my dad worked afternoons and I was in school and things like that. So I didn't see him as often. But when I spent a lot more time with my mom, I picked up a lot of things like her, my ideas, my attitude, my, the views, I guess, the way I would act or the way I looked at life was a much different way than the way my dad did. My dad has always been more of a positive thinker. My mom was more, not that she's a negative thinker, it's just that my mom she was more pessimistic. She would look more at what could go wrong or like, and it was more out of a worrying thing. The older I get, the more I realize it wasn't like she was just, hateful and negative and just, didn't like everything. It was more of a protective way. It was more of if I imagine the worst and I think of the worst, then I protect myself from being crushed, and that's kind of how I viewed things in life when I was younger. But then as I got older, I started spending more time with my dad as he was not working, or as I got older and I wasn't, going into high school. I wasn't in school as much. So therefore I was staying up later. I would see him when he'd get home. I'd see him in the mornings before he'd go to work. So I just spent a little bit more time with my dad. And then like I would ask him, I've even asked him, I was like, why is it that even when shit is just coming down all around you, you still have a good, positive outlook? And I just remember things changed when I started seeing the way he would act and the reasons he was more positive. And basically, to sum it all up, it's why be like, what benefit do you get from being negative? And I understand the aspect of not getting your hopes up so that way it doesn't crush you. But the bottom line, that's just an easy cop-out because you're going to get crushed when bad things happen, regardless if you're expecting them or not. It's not going to feel good to receive bad news, even if you expect it. Like, here's the thing. I'm sure that when the whole election, like Trump and Hillary, I'm sure that when that election took place, there was people that were in Hillary's camp or people people that were really hardcore, like, I want Hillary, I want Hillary. I'm sure there was a lot of people that wanted Hillary that were very negative people, and they were preparing themselves for the worst. They were preparing themselves for when if Hillary lost. Do you think that helped them afterwards when Hillary lost? No, they probably still were devastated. I mean, you've seen some of the videos, crying and screaming, no! Like, I mean, it's pure insanity, some of the people, and I'm not, but the reality, though, is that some people prepared for the worst, and then when it happened, like, I prepared, listen, I can speak true to this big time because I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Every fucking year I go into the year with high hopes but expecting mediocrity because that's all they've ever put out is mediocrity. And so at best, to be honest with you, it's always a failure. Every year is a fucking failure. We have one playoff win since 1958. Every year is a failure. So I go in full well aware that it's probably not going to be our year. Now, I hope for the best. I try to be positive. I try to think like, hey, maybe this year's different. Maybe this is the year it all comes together. Maybe we finally have the right pieces in place. Maybe we finally have the right coach. Maybe we finally. But every year it's the exact same results. They get your hopes up, then they crush you. Now, when you expect, but one of my best friends on earth goes in every year assuming the Lions are going to suck, expecting that they're going to be terrible, expecting for them to just devastate his heart. And every year it happens, and it never makes him feel any better about it. It's like, where do you can't just take solace in being right. What good is it if you predict all the world's devastation before it happens and then you're right? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel good about being right, that everything is a shit show? That everything is falling apart around you? No. There's no solace in being negative. It's good to mentally prepare yourself for the worst, but it's not helpful towards you and your psyche to think the worst. Always stress, always be worrying, always be negative. That's not helpful. So I just ask you, and I'm going to wrap this up, but I just ask you, where do you get your perspective? Where does it come from? What makes you believe what you believe? What got you there? And really dive deep into that, because sometimes when we think within ourselves about what got us there, we realize that we were wrong all along. Or maybe not wrong, but maybe that it's just not the right way to go. Maybe I was misled at an early age, and I just never followed up with it. I never stopped to think about it. I really just want people to think about all the information you've been given in your life, all the outlooks that you have, all the perspective in the world that you have. And then I really want you to think to yourself, put yourself in the opposite shoes. Put yourself, if you're a super positive person, put yourself in a negative mindset. Just think about things from a negative person's point of view, or at least try to. It's not, it's easier or more difficult to certain people. But try to think about life from the opposite standpoint. If you're a very good person, try to think about the world or your life or your experiences from a very, very bad point of view, a very negative point of view, a very evil perspective. And if you're a very evil person, you're always screwing people over and you don't give two shits, try to imagine your exact life or your exact views, your exact ideology, but coming from a good place, coming from a place of kindness, coming from a place of doing good for others and being good to them, being nice to them. It's not easy. If you're a husband and you do husband-like stuff, try to put yourself in the position of the wife or the mom. If you're the dad of the family, try to think like the mom for a second. If you're the mom, try to think like the dad. Vice versa. If you're a parent, try to think about what life would feel like from a child's perspective in this day and age. We don't do this enough. We don't put ourselves in the shoes of others. We just judge and criticize and go, oh, they got it wrong. They're stupid. They don't know. They don't understand. One day they'll figure it out. Or we get mad at them for not agreeing with us or not believing what we believe or feeling the way we do. And it's just, we need to be able to have conversations with people from all walks of life, not argue, not yell, not scream, not shout each other down, not criticize each other's character. Just try to understand why they feel the way they do. Listen, I'm a Christian guy. I feel like I've always grown up in church. I've read, I would never claim to be a perfect expert on the Bible, but I do know a lot about the Bible. And I got into a conversation with a woman who said that she says she's a Christian. She said she believes in God and she believes in Jesus and all that. And so I was like, oh yeah, me too, and all this stuff. And then she goes, well, I don't believe in hell. And I don't believe in the rapture. I don't believe in this. And she starts naming all these things she doesn't believe in. I'm like, it's one thing to call yourself a Christian. And listen, I'm not trying to criticize her. So listen, if you're listening right now, please don't take offense to this. This is not a shot at you. It's just purely from me not understanding how you could call yourself, how you could feel, like, think of yourself as a Christian, but not believe in what the Bible is telling you as a Christian. Like I would never say, well, like, for instance, like, one of the things is she thought that there are Jews that believe that Jesus is the Messiah. And I said, well, then they're not very good Jews. And I didn't mean it to, like, be a dick. I was just saying, because if you're Jewish, you don't believe that. I mean, that's not what the Jewish Bible is teaching them about. I mean, it talks about the coming of Jesus. It talks about him coming and arriving and all that. It talks about the arrival of the Messiah. It talks about the bloodline, where he comes from, all this stuff. It gives you a lot of details about what it will look like when he comes, or when he's here or whatever. You'll know the signs to know who he is. But they don't believe. I mean, listen, the Jews were the ones that killed Jesus. Clearly, they're not the biggest fans of thinking Jesus is the Messiah. Because if you follow God, you worship God, but then you try to kill him as soon as he arrives, it's very contradictory to your beliefs. But all I was trying to tell her is that if you believe what the Jews believe, then you do not believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. You don't believe that if you're Jewish. And if you do believe that, then you're not Jewish. If you're Jewish, you don't believe that. They don't go, like, you can't contradict. It'd be like me saying, like, of course the sky's blue, but I don't believe it. It's almost like it's weird that you would. It's like Islam, right? If you're Muslim, and believe me, I'm not trying to criticize anyone, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist. It's not what this is about. I'm not trying to criticize. All I'm saying is there are a certain set of beliefs that come with calling like, if you're a socialist, you don't believe in you don't like the free market. You don't like, if you're a socialist, you want the government to be giving handouts. If you're a socialist, you want free healthcare. You want free shit, basically, if you're a socialist. It's impossible to root for capitalist ideas, but then say that you're a socialist. It's impossible to check off all the boxes of a conservative or a Republican and then say, no, I'm a Democrat. You can say these things all you want, but you're contradicting the beliefs. And so I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just saying it's very strange when you get into a conversation with somebody like that and they're saying, well, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe anything that the Christians believe. It's just strange. You know what I mean? It's very contradictory. And so I'm not trying to question her Christianity. I'm not trying to question what she likes or what she believes or what she's going into. And so I'm trying to have this conversation with her, and it starts getting to a point where we're both getting a little, like, not heated, but we're getting a little, like, tense towards each other. And eventually we just kind of squash it. And I flat out said to her, I was like, all right, well, maybe we'll just agree to disagree. It's fine. And she even said, she's like, yeah, I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine. And I was like, that's fine. And we're good. And then, but like a few minutes later, she then said, I hope I didn't offend you with that. And I was like, no, not at all. I'm one of the few that can have a conversation and totally disagree with everything you're saying, but not want to kill you or not want to fight you for it. You know what I mean? So it is, I think we need more of that. But anyway, that's another conversation for a different time. I just basically wanted to get into why you believe what you believe. Think about it. Dig deep within yourself and think, do I believe the things that I believe because someone told them to me and I never checked into it? Or do I actually believe this because this is my view of the world? This is what I see. This is how it looks to me. This is what I feel is best for me. Because I think we need to do all of that. I think we need to do all of that research. We need to think, okay, how was I raised? Because listen, if I'm raised in a Christian household where my parents taught me about God and I believe in God, and you're raised in an atheist household and you don't believe in God, obviously one of us we can't both be right. It's either one or the other. I mean, it's not even necessarily either one of those two. Maybe it's Islam, maybe it's Buddhist, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. It could be anything, right? But you can't have contradictory ideas and feel the exact same way. You can't have contradictory values and feel the exact same way. That is a logical contradiction. or an illogical. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's not logical is all I can really say about it. It's not. It'd be like me saying, well, yeah, I love the First Amendment. I love the Second Amendment with the right to carry, the right to own a gun, the right to have a gun and all that for protection. I believe in all that. However, I want gun control. I want to take everyone's gun. I don't want anybody to have a gun, but I like having a gun. It's very contradictory to say these things. It's very contradictory to say, yeah, I really like Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren, and I'm also voting for Trump. It's very strange to feel that way, isn't it? I mean, it just doesn't sound right. So I'm not questioning your beliefs. I'm not criticizing your beliefs, and I'm not trying to argue with anyone about their beliefs. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I just want people to purely look within themselves and say, do I really believe this because I have evidence to believe this, or think this way, or feel this way, or have this kind of perspective? Or do I just feel this way because of my surroundings, because of the family I grew up in, because of the friends that I have, because of the job that I have, because of the city I live in, and the way everyone feels around me? Like, really question this stuff. Think about this stuff. It's very important. It's very important for you to figure out who you are and why you are the way you are, why you feel the way you feel, and where you're going in life with that information. It's very important. And I just want you guys to think about it. That's all. So it's not, trust me, there's no judgment, no criticism, no arguing, no persuasion here. I just want people to feel, like, understand yourself and why you are the way you are. It's very important. I mean, look, we get one life that we know of. What are you doing with your time? How do you feel? What are you doing with that information? Are you just coasting? Are you just going through life? Are you trying to change the world? Are you trying to change yourself? Are you trying to help people? Are you trying to screw people over? I mean, where are you at on this spectrum of your perspectives? In all ways, shapes, and forms, not just political, not just religious, not just your career, your sexual preference. I mean, it could be anything. It could be, why do you like the color blue more than the color red? And in some of these questions, you're not going to have answers to. Honestly, that popped in my head because I like the color blue more than I like the color red. I really do. I've always liked the color blue. I don't know why. My mom asked me when I was a little kid, what's your favorite color? I said blue. I have no idea why. I just like it. Maybe it's because I look good in blue. I don't know. But no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, guys, I really got to get going. Please leave a message through the Anchor app. If you can, a voice message for me. I'd love to get a hold of you, talk to you, all that stuff. I'm extremely grateful that you guys are listening, that you guys are interactive and commenting and being a part of the community and everything. I'd like everyone to comment with each other. I want this to be a good, positive, helpful community of not just me talking. I want to help. I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can, but I want everyone's life to be better. Everybody's. I want everyone's life to be better. I want everyone's mindset, self-esteem, perspective, intelligence. I want all of it for you, for everybody, not just for you. Don't be selfish, but but for everybody. So any way I can do that, I'd love to. And so, guys, if you want, please leave me a voicemail through the voice message through the Anchor app. You can get a hold of me on Really Rich Podcast on Instagram. You can get a hold of me through Really Rich Adam on Twitter. And then through Snapchat and YouTube, it's Really Rich. And please find me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to connect with everybody. I love you guys. I want to talk to you more. I want to get together. I want to interview you guys. I want to do it all. So I love you guys, and I thank you so much. If you're looking on LinkedIn, it's Adam Rich, founder and host of Really Rich Podcast. You'll find it. But I got to go, guys. I love you so much, and I thank you for your time and everything you do. Love you. See you later. Peace. I'm out of here.